Get ready for another wild ride through Reddit. Today we're exploring our /Amitheasshole with 5 absolutely incredible stories. These posts had everyone talking, and I know you're going to love them. Hit like if you're excited. This story is titled AITA for using a disabled person for my own benefit, posted by you/CrownGotKnown. So, I, 18F, took ASL lessons in HS, but up until now I've never had a deaf friend. This year I started college, and there's a deaf-mute person in my class. He uses an interpreter during lessons. Everyone has been nice to him, but no one really tried to get to know him, or actually befriend him, so he wasn't very close with anyone. I'm not judging them for that. Had I not already taken ASL in high school, I probably wouldn't have learned just for him either. But after I told him I knew some ASL, and started signing with him, we naturally got close. Since September, I've been signing with him almost daily, and my signing has gotten so much better. Anyway, about a week ago, he suggested that I start taking ASL lessons again, and I joked that's what you're for. It was absolutely a joke, like I laughed right after as I signed it, but maybe because my signing was off, he took it seriously, and got offended. I apologized and explained it was just a joke. He said he understood and even apologized for getting upset in the first place. He acted a bit distant for a couple days more. But eventually got over it, and we're completely fine now. But today, one of my other friends told me that he said he noticed Nolan. And I had been a bit distant lately, and asked if everything was all right. I told him we had a little fight, but don't worry, we're completely fine now. But for some reason, he wouldn't let it go. First he made jokes like there's some truth in every joke, which I laughed off. But then he said something like, I knew you wouldn't hang with a guy like him for no reason. I was like, excuse me? I told him that was such a rude thing to say, and he said it was the truth. I called him out for being a bigot asshole, and an ableist, which I guess got under his skin, because he snapped back at me. And said I'm not one to talk that, I'm worse than him, and that I'm taking advantage of a disabled guy and using him for my own benefit. AITA? This story is titled, posted by you/Virgo514. This next story will blow your mind. Reddit. Amitheassholes 4JQBCKZZGH. Hi, thanks a lot for the feedback on my first post. I had decided to suggest he do his tutoring classes online while we were in Spain as a compromise, and that's what I was planning on doing. My husband caught a cold on Thursday though, and had been really down and out the last couple of days. He had taken these 2 days off work from his day job. Despite my insistence that he rest, he tried to do his tutoring class as scheduled, but literally couldn't get through it, and canceled those as well. I didn't want to have the conversation while he was this sick, so I postponed it. It was great, maybe not the best choice of words as a wife talking about my husband getting sick lol, to kind of just have him do nothing for these 2 days. He spent time with me and the kids, a few of his friends. And some mutual friends of ours also came to our place to see him because they rarely see him outside of important occasions. Last night I brought up the vacation again. He agreed without too much resistance. He said he'll move around some classes or take them in advance. But either way he'll be with us for the vacation. I thanked him and also told him he needs to take it easy, it's clearly affecting his health. He was like, him being sick isn't because of the work, it's because of the change in weather. I did bring up that we had had an agreement earlier, and that he'd kept to it for a while, and we'd really struck a good balance, but things are back to the way they were prior to that. He said he always asked me before filling up Sundays. And that is true TBF, it's just, there's only so many times I can say no. He also mentioned how 2 people he knows have recently been laid off, that times are bad economically. I told him I don't see why that has to affect him, we're doing well financially. We have more than enough savings, our careers are good. He has a business that has been growing every year, we're secure where we are. He said he was too sick to talk about this, and that right now our kids are young, they need less of him, that his classes are important. Because students and parents come to him after having heard of him, and that it's important for them to get into good universities. I told him our son is old enough that he now wants to spend time with him. And that I can compromise on my needs and wants but not our kids. He got the point I was trying to make, and said that he'll make the necessary changes. I'm glad our vacation is back on track. I'd really been looking forward to this as a family. Also, I'm glad I told him how he'd been reneging on the balance we'd established earlier, and he'll be going back to it. He did do it last time, so I'm confident he'll do it again. We both just have to work to make sure we keep it in place. Thanks a lot. This story is titled AITA for making my sick boyfriend stay at his mom's, posted by you/lost sock awareness. Our next story is equally fascinating. My 21 boyfriend, 22, has CHS, which is where you get ill from weed, which develops from years of excessive usage. It's been an issue in our relationship because every time he gets sick he is debilitated and can't do anything except lie in bed and puke. When he is sick, I usually have to sleep on the couch, so I can try to get a decent sleep before I go to work. Recently, it's been getting really bad. At first it would happen once every 3 months, then once a month, then every time he smokes. I just feel like I can't deal with living with someone who self-induces illness every week. I told him if he smoked this weekend, and then he got sick, he had to stay at his mom's house. He reluctantly agreed without thinking it would actually have to happen. Well, lo and behold, he gets sick the day after he smoked. Who would have thought? True to my word, I drove him to his mom's house to stay the night. Initially, she agreed he could stay over. She is pissed at me because I forced him out of his own house. He is mad too, less so but still. So, I will admit I never asked her if it was okay if he could stay there. I just kind of assumed, because my mom wouldn't care if I needed to stay the night for something like that. He called her and she agreed he could, but is now mad at me and threatening to drive him back. I'm just at my wit's end. I can't deal with living with someone with this condition who refuses to quit permanently. I understand it's an addiction, but I just feel like I'm gonna snap. So, was this unreasonable of me? Am I the asshole? This story is titled AITA for telling this joke, posted by you/TrainingGok1750. Let's jump into another amazing story. I, 19 am a university student. I was chatting with a group of friends, and one of my closest friends mentioned that next year they would be studying abroad. I said, study abroad? I think the polite thing to say is, /study a dame. This got a pretty good laugh from everyone, and the conversation continued normally. Later, my roommate, 20M, confronted me, saying that he didn't like how the joke used the word broad in an outdated sense, and that it could be construed as offensive to women. I argued that since the word was outdated, it was clear that it was a joke, and that the joke's punchline was that I misheard a word, not that I was being demeaning to women. Either way, I'd like to think that I'm respectful to women. I need to know whether it's a good idea to tell this joke in the future, even if it's only to people who already know me well. AITA? This story is titled AITA for calling my sister an attention whore, because she's making my grandma's death all about her, posted by you/GoatUnfair4120. And now for our final story of today. My grandma died a little over a week ago. My sister, 19, was supposed to stay the night with her in the hospital. We were all there until around 9:30 and she was fine. She was sitting up and talking. At 2:30 some cop was knocking on our door to tell us that she was dead and to take us to the hospital. She had a heart attack. In my culture, when someone dies you open their house so anybody can pay their respects. Like my mom and aunt seriously posted her address on social media with dates and times. I just have to say that my sister is the perfect one, and that role is very important to her. She has a tiny body, great skin, piercing blue eyes, and springy blonde curls. She literally looks like a Disney princess. Nobody in our family even has blonde hair, or blue eyes or curly hair except for like a couple of my grandparents' siblings. She's also a preschool teacher. In my state you can get a certificate after a year of college and a certain number of hours in the classroom. And works with kids outside of the classroom, so now she teaches all of the little cousins and has people coming to her for advice and really makes a spectacle of her being great with kids. So, anyways, we had the open house thing, and people she didn't even know kept coming to her and telling her that she was our grandma's favorite and how proud our grandma was of her. Then, somebody asked how she was doing after seeing her die, and my sister goes on and on about how it was the scariest thing in her life. And how when she knew Grandma was going to die she tried calling us, but we all slept through it, and how after Grandma died, she had to call one of her preschool parents to wake us up and take us to the hospital because she didn't know how else to reach us. I swear she told that story at least 20 times between the 2 nights. When she wasn't telling that story, she was showing off all of her jewelry that my grandma apparently gave her, but before her death she insisted they were fakes from Amazon, or talking about her other job working with kids, and giving advice on which public library is the best for toddlers, and showing pictures of the vacation her boss took her on. It was all about her. After the second night, I told her she doesn't have to be an attention whore. We get it. She's perfect and she was Grandma's favorite person in the world, and she does like the best job for women in our culture and knows everything about little kids, but Grandma's death isn't about her. I got in trouble because she's traumatized and she and Grandma had a special relationship. Now, my sister is pissed with me and my parents are trying to pretend like nothing happened. But they still want me to apologize so AITA for calling her an attention whore. What an incredible collection of stories we had today. Reddit never ceases to amaze me. Like and subscribe for more Reddit story compilations. Until next time, take care.